and we should pay tribute to former heavyweight world champion Ken Norton, who died last week at the age of 70. Norton fought Muhammad Ali 3 times, winning their first encounter and breaking Ali's jaw in the process. Gene Kilroy is Ali's former business manager.
I remember when Ali got the broken jaw and he was in the hospital, the next day Kenny came to see him by himself. And I said, I'm against this. He said, no, I got him ready. Let me handle it. And he told Kenny, I never want to fight you again. You hit so hard. And you know what? If Kenny would have stayed away from Ali, he could have been the big hero. But he gave Ali the rematch, which was in L.A., and Ali won by unanimous decision.
It was fights like the 3 against Norton that really made part of Ali's name, and it was that helped him become such a celebrity and so well known worldwide.
Oh yes, I go back with Kenny Norton. I remember when he was in the Marine Corps, he was fighting a light heavyweight with the all Marine team, and then he came out. He went into boxing, but I always had a great friendship with him. He was always a classy guy in and out of the ring. And the remarkable story about him, his son was a great football player in America, great, and now he's coaching. And Kenny never exposed his children to the boxing arena. He wanted to keep them away. He wanted them to get education, stay away from that. And I admire him from that. And I talked to the kids, later in life. I said, how come you never went to one of your dad's fights? He said he didn't want us to.
Well, guys, let's talk about Ken Norton, because he was world champion in an era which was arguably the golden age of heavyweight boxing.
Yes, he was, and it's this toss-up. Is he unlucky to have been around at a time of Ali, Frazier and Foreman as well, or is he lucky to be revered as part of that whole era? He didn't win the title until just at the back end of that era. In fact, he didn't win it in the ring. He won an eliminator against Jimmy Young, who was another name who was just on the fringes of those great names in those days. He won an eliminator against Jimmy Young, and then because Leon Spinks, who had another version of the title, chose to defend against Muhammad Ali rather than fight the number 1 contender, Ken Norton was given the title, and in his first defence he lost it to Larry Holmes, who went on to become another of the great heavyweight champions.
So he has this toe, Kenny, where he fights 3 fights with Muhammad Ali. It's this toe in greatness. All 3 of those fights could have gone either way. Kenny Norton was around the way, or a point away from winning all 3 fights. But what's most interesting is he played a role that's often neglected in one of the most infamous fights in boxing history, which was called the Sunshine Showdown, which is hard to say most days, which was between George Foreman and Joe Frazier in Kingston, Jamaica. Joe Frazier was smashed to bits, dropped about 5 times by George Foreman, and in fact Kenny Norton gets the blame, because what had happened was he'd been sparring with Joe Frazier, so serious and so nasty with the sessions that when Frazier's main coach Eddie Futch arrived in Jamaica, it took him 10 seconds of the first round of sparring, even though it had been going on for 6 weeks, and he basically sacked Ken Norton. He said, Kenny, get down the beach and meet some ladies. And as Ken Norton told me once, not far from here, just down the road in Bury, he said, you didn't need to tell me twice to go and meet some ladies. And he went off to meet some ladies. Joe Frazier had nothing left, got in the ring and got smashed to bits by George Foreman. There you go. He had a toe everywhere, did our Ken.
And first, the late Ken Norton.
Hey, I had the opportunity to go visit Ken a couple of times when he was in the hospital, and I'm just it's just been a pleasure just knowing him as a human being. He's always been a kind man. He's been kind to me even before I was I was an amateur fighter. I met Mr. Norton. He was really kind to me. He didn't know me from a can of paint. He was really kind.
And I know down the years, especially during your successful career early on, you were a great student of the past heavyweights. How would you assess Ken's place in history?
Hey, listen. Ken won the championship. He put up great fights with the greatest fighter that ever lived, 2 of the greatest fighters, Larry Holmes and Muhammad Ali. And that speaks for itself.
Mike, sometimes people overlook Ken's place amongst the greats. Are you ever worried that you'll be overlooked when people sit down in 10, 15 and 20 years?
Hey, 10, 15, 20 years from now, I don't know if I'll still be alive, so it won't even matter what people think about me or anything. I just know I put in my time, and just like Ken and Muhammad Ali put in their time, and that's all that anyone can ask for.